Hello, my lovelies. Well, I thought I'd jump on the old bandwagon because there's so much out there about Pluto ingressing into Aquarius today, the 20th of January. But I thought I'd give you some backstory to it, put a little bit of meat on the bones so that we get we can have a better grasp of what this energy is about to lay on us. So here we go. Many happy returns, by the way. Now, a lot of people don't know what that means exactly, but what it means is, may the Earth go around the Sun many times in your lifetime. So we know that the Earth takes 365 days, or thereabouts, to go around the Sun and return to your point of birth. Now, the other planets take different times. So we know the Moon takes 28 days to go around the Earth. And then we have Jupiter takes 12 years to go around the Sun. And then we know that Saturn takes 28 years to go around the Sun. And then further out, we know that Uranus takes 84 years to go around the Sun. And Pluto, which is the one we're going to focus on, takes approximately 248 years to go around the Sun. So none of us on the planet are likely to experience a full Pluto cycle in our lifetimes. So if you divide 248 by 12, the 12 signs of the zodiac, that makes 20 or thereabouts. So Pluto will spend up to, and sometimes longer than 20 years in a particular sign of the zodiac. So it can spend from between 12 years and even up to 30 years in a sign. So I've made a little list here of times and years in history where Pluto has been in the sign of Aquarius, and also some of the events that have occurred so that we can correlate what is or has been happening to us over the years as Pluto has spent some time in Capricorn, and what has happened as it moves over into the sign of Aquarius. So Pluto was actually discovered in 1930 by a chap called Clyde Tombaugh, making it by far the first known object in the Kuiper Belt. So it would be our 9th planet in the solar system. And actually it was 94 years ago that it was discovered. So when we add 9 and 4 together, it adds up to 13. So 13 is not an unlucky number. It is to do with the divine feminine. So actually with Pluto moving into Aquarius, it is 94 years since it was actually discovered by an astronomer. So there's a lovely divine feminine energy about this year. Now, the planet was actually named by an 11-year-old girl. She was sitting at breakfast with her father, and her name was Venetia Burney, and she lived in Oxford in England. And she was well into Greek mythology and Roman mythology, and she named the planet after the god of the underworld, Pluto, which is the Roman, and the Greek is Hades. So, as I said, Pluto has around about a 248-year oval-shaped orbit. But because it has retrograde motion as well, that's why it doesn't spend an exact 20 or so years in each sign. It goes backwards and forwards 2 or 3 times over the course of its cycle. And it may spend, as I said, from 12 to more than 21 years in each sign. So in March of 2008, Pluto entered the sign of Capricorn. And it's actually been 16 years that it's been going backwards and forwards from Capricorn into Sagittarius, into Scorpio, back into Sagittarius, and then back into Capricorn, where it was up until yesterday, its very final degree. So we had a financial crash in 2008, and Pluto is known as the planet of death and rebirth and inheritance, and it rules the sign of Scorpio. So a personal event that happened to me in 2008, my father died. He was aged 86 and a half, and I received an inheritance. And when Pluto retrograded back into Sagittarius in August of 2008, then I was able to move. When it was in Capricorn, I couldn't. It was all the financial dealings and the probate and selling the house and all that sort of stuff. But then a little window opened up where Sagittarius, which is about travel and movement and relocating, that's when I upped sticks and I was able to move. So you might like to look back on some of the events in your life during that period. So the mythology of Pluto, so also known as Hades, he was the older brother of Poseidon, also known as Neptune, and Zeus, also known as Jupiter. He had older sisters who were Hestia, Demeter, and Hera was Jupiter's wife, or Zeus's wife. And Hades, or Pluto, was the son of Kronos and Rhea, and they were known as the Titans. So Kronos' father was Uranus. Now, Kronos we know as Saturn. And Kronos is to do with time. So his old father time. And when we think of chronology or a chronometer, it is a measurement of time. So Uranus, Kronos' dad, told him that there was a prophecy that Kronos would be dethroned by one of his own offspring. So when Kronos married Rhea, R-H-E-A, he swallowed his children. Awful thing to do, but that's what they did in those days. He swallowed his children. However, Rhea managed to hide the youngest child, who was Zeus, or Jupiter, and he grew to fulfill the prophecy and deposed his dad by cutting off his genitals and chucking them in the sea. From which later sprung Aphrodite, or Venus as we know her, and Aphrodite or Aphrodite means foam born, so she was born of the foam. She had no mother, she just sprung out of the waters on a beautiful shell because of what had happened to Kronos. So once he was deposed, Zeus, his son, or Jupiter, he was in charge, and he divided the realms between his brothers and himself. So Hades, Pluto, ruled the underworld. Poseidon, or Neptune, ruled the oceans, and Zeus, or Jupiter, himself, ruled the earth. Now, Hades, or Pluto, he actually abducted his sister's daughter, who was his niece, and he took her down into the underworld and did naughty things to her. And her mother, Demeter, was so fraught with anguish that she stopped everything from growing while she searched for her daughter. So Demeter is the earth mother, the earth goddess, also known as Gaia. And she brought about winter because she was so fraught trying to find her daughter, she stopped everything from growing. So that's why we have 9 months of spring, summer, and autumn, and then we have the 3 months of winter. So eventually, when Persephone was found, Demeter, her mother, had to make a pact with her brother, Hades, or Pluto, that her daughter would return to her mother for 9 months of the year, but had to return to her husband in the underworld for every winter for 3 months. So I find it absolutely fascinating that as Pluto goes into Aquarius today, the 20th of January, it's for 9 months, which is a gestation period. And Persephone went to the underworld with her husband Hades for 9 months. So we have this interesting correlation that for the next 9 months we are in a gestation period. So allowing things to grow inside of us, to develop, to mature, to change how we view the world, to change our own inner landscape. And then Pluto retrogrades back into Capricorn for 2 months and a bit, from the 1st of September until the 19th of November. So there's this little 2 month or so period after the 9 months gestation where things get flipped back a little bit. And I think that those that thought there were the powers that be might try another little malarkey, which is their final, in their final throes, but it won't succeed. It's they're 2 way past the finishing post now. So then the planet Pluto remains in the sign of Aquarius for a further 20 or so years. So as we move out of the Earth sign of Capricorn and into the air sign of Aquarius, we're going to notice a huge change with regard to how we have been ruled, how we have been managed, how we have been enslaved, and how the veils drop from so many people's eyes, and new innovations and technologies and ways of healing are going to emerge and take us into this age of Aquarius. So then if we go to historically, when Pluto was discovered in 1930, 3 years later, a certain Adolf Schicklgruber became German Chancellor, and then Führer in 1934. So at that time, Pluto was in the sign of Cancer in Leo, going retrograde and direct. And that was for about 23 years, so from 1914 to 1937. And then also in that period, plutonium was produced in the late 1940s, early 41, and it was produced by a deuteron bombardment of uranium. So again, we have those 2 names of plutonium, Pluto, and uranium from Uranus. So Uranus was discovered on the 13th of March, 1787. And it has 42 years of continuous sunlight and 42 years of continuous darkness, making an 84-year cycle. So 84 divided by 12, so the 12 signs of the zodiac, equals 7-year cycles. And just an aside, I thought it was interesting that a certain royal duchess happens to be 42 years old at the moment. And is possibly going into a 42-year cycle of darkness. Just, putting that out there. Now, the first atom bomb, known as the Manhattan Project, that was detonated on the 16th of July, 1945, again, using plutonium and uranium. And I think you might find this interesting. So the movie Back to the Future, it was set in 1955 and 1985. And there's a lovely quote from Dr. Emmett Brown. He says, "Murray, I'm sure in 1985 plutonium is available at every corner drugstore, but in 1955 it's a little hard to come by." And that's what powered his DeLorean time machine. So in 1955, Pluto was in the sign of Leo. And in 1985, Pluto was in Scorpio. So Pluto rules Scorpio. So the dark, hidden agendas of things. So then we have some other times in history. Going right back, I've gone right back to, where are we? The year 410, when Pluto was in Aquarius, was the sacking of Rome. In the year 325, on July the 4th, was the Council of Nicaea, where all of the cardinals and priests, etc., got together in Rome and decided how they were going to present Christianity and the Bible, and what they're going to take out, what they're going to leave in, and how they were going to adjust it. So that's very interesting. In the year 43 AD, the city of London was founded by Rome, and it's 1 square mile owned by the Vatican. And all of these dates I'm giving you are when Pluto was in Aquarius. In, where are we? 1539, so we're going forward a little bit, 1539, the dissolution of the monasteries. So when Henry VIII decided he wanted to divorce his wife, Queen Catherine of Aragon, the Pope didn't like it, so Henry split from the church, and he became, or made himself, head of the Church of England. And in 1536, Glastonbury Abbey was destroyed. So he decided to dissolve all of the monasteries and pull them to bits, and he took all of the golden riches and wealth from all of the monks and kept it all for himself. So then we move forward a little bit, and we have Pluto in Aquarius from 1777 to 1799. So the American Revolution was in 1775 to 1783. The French Revolution was 1789 to 1799. And the British or English Industrial Revolution was from 1777 to 1798. So during that period there of Pluto in Aquarius, there was a huge upheaval in lots of different areas of life and lots of different countries. So going back a little bit further, just before Elizabeth I came to the throne, which was 1558 to 1603, her dad, Henry VIII, because he'd made himself head of the Church of England, what came when his daughter took the throne was what we call the Reformation. So many different religions, there was Protestantism, and trying to get the hold or the grasp that the Vatican or Rome had on the people lessened somewhat while they were on the throne. And it's interesting that there's so many stories going on and round and about at the moment about the royals, not just in the UK, but in other countries as well, suddenly being no longer in the public eye. So we may find as we move into this 20-year period that a lot of things that we have seen as authority figures, systems that have been set up that we've just accepted into our lives and gone along with, they're all crumbling, they're all falling apart, and they need to be dissolved. So when you look back at history at these times of great upheaval in everybody's lives, I think we've got a little bit more here. No, that's it. we should be able to look back and say, oh, now that makes sense, doesn't it? And rather than hanging on to and gripping onto the past way of doing things, which I think an awful lot of people will still try to do, is just to welcome in these changes and say, well, let's see how powerful we actually are. Let's dip our toes in the water. Let's turn our backs on the way that we have been ruled or told what to do, being kept held down, not allowed to speak our truth. And these incredible innovations that have been squashed. I'm sure a lot of things have been discovered a long time ago, but they haven't been allowed to be brought to the surface. So an awful lot of that is going to show itself as well. So personally speaking, I'm really looking forward to this next 20 odd years. I'm chomping at the bit. It's going to traverse some major areas in my life, one of which is teaching and publication, artwork. So as I say, I'm very excited about it. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm not buying into the doom and the gloom. I'm being the observer. I'm on my eagle's perch, and I'm looking and watching and observing all of these incredible changes and feeling very positive about it. So I'm not joining the gloom and doom mob. I'm being joyful. It's an extraordinary time to be alive. I'm pretty ancient now, but hopefully in the next 20 years, when I reach 90, I'll still be here and I'll still be banging on about this stuff and saying, well, wasn't that amazing? Aren't you glad that you signed up to come here? Because I'm jolly glad I did. So there you are, my dears. I hope that's not too confusing. Slow it down if you want to watch it all. And do your own research. You can look back, as I've done, over the 1,000 years or so that I went back to, of how the energy of Pluto has affected mankind. Now, the planets don't actually do anything. They have an influence upon us, and it's up to us whether we choose to be positively or negatively affected by that influence. And I'm telling you that I'm choosing to be positive about it. So there we are, my lovelies. Thanks for hanging around and listening. If it's been of any help, give us a like and comment if you like. So again, we'll see you soon. Lots of love. Bye.